Krishna. We are very pleased today with the Sripad Tirtha Pada Prabhu that is present with us as an advisor of Vaishnava World Vaishnava Association. Today he is gonna explain us about jiva tattwa to answer the question, where did the jivas come from? Also, he has been inspiring many people during his devotional life. He is disciple of Srila A Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, and also he has been following the footsteps of Srila Narayana Goswami Maharaj. So we are very pleased to have him here with us. Now Goswami Maharaj, as ambassador of WBA, will give this scarf of Vishwa Vaishnava Rakshava to Tirtha Pada.
Thank you. Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namah. Shastrabhide Mudgatya Shuddha Bhakti Nirupita Sri Chaitanya Gyayena Banditam Rupa Samyakam Gaurarasta Sachivatvam Hitva Gaurapadashayat Sanatanam Numistam Yo Jivatatvam Mushikshaya Namo Mahavarinyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Krishe Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tavai Vasmi Na Jivami Tvai Vina Iti Vigyaya Devi Tvam Nayamam Charanantika Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayamam Charanantika Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bhaktya Vihina Aparade Lakshay Shiptas Chakamari Tarangamaje Kripamai Tvam Sharanam Papana Vinde Namaste Charanaravinda. So first I offer my innumerable prostrated obeisances to my Harinam and Diksha Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada. And the same innumerable prostrated obeisance to my Shiksha Gurus Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakaka Sridhar Goswami Maharaj. And the same innumerable prostrated obeisances to my Shiksha Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. And to all the assembled devotees that are listening, my humble obeisances to them also. Originally when I was in ISKCON, we used to think that the jiva came from the spiritual world. So then when I got started to take shiksha from Srila Bhakti Rakshita Maharaj, they came out with this book called Search for Sri Krishna. Maybe you read it, maybe not, but Search for Sri Krishna. In chapter 4, there's a chapter called The Origin of the Jiva, Origin of the Soul. And there he says many things about the jiva. And one very, very amazing thing, he says that originally the jiva was in a unified type of consciousness, like a plane of non-differentiated consciousness. So when devotees heard about this, they thought, oh, Srila Sridhar Maharaj is saying, oh, the jiva this is impersonal, he's coming from a non-differentiated consciousness like that. So there was a big controversy about that, the origin of the soul. So when they told Srila Sridhar Maharaj about this, he mentioned that this topic is very, very deep. This is a very profound topic. Why? This topic also has to do with Achintya Veda Veda Prakash, which is simultaneously non-different and different. It's Achintya, in other words. Achintya, which means it's inconceivable, actually, where the jiva came from. So he said, if you try to understand so deeply and try to keep going, you could become an atheist. Because it's inconceivable, you know. There's a point. So he was explaining this very, very clearly in this Origin of the Soul, where he said that the jiva comes from the Brahmajyoti. So when they heard this, immediately, oh, this is impersonalism, you know. But actually, another word for Brahmajyoti was the Tatastha region. So he didn't use his word in there, the Tatastha, like that. So big controversy started, you know, like that, and they started all this criticism. But the thing is, it's very clearly explained, brought out, what Srila Maharaj was talking about in Jiva Dharma, and obviously in Sanatan Shiksha, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sanatan Shiksha is Madhya Lila chapter 20, where we go through the whole explanation of how Sanatan Goswami was released from prison. Very clever way he was released. You were thinking like, well, what is this story all about? Why are they talking about Sanatan Goswami being in prison and released like that? And for years I was thinking, why didn't they just jump into the topic of the jiva or something like that? Anyway, the whole point is, I was thinking, well, actually, he was in a prison. The material world is like a prison. How the jiva gets out is very, very difficult, very complex. So to talk about the origin of the jiva, when you're already covered like that, in Jiva Dharma Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, material words, they have a limit. You can only explain them to a certain point. Then after that, it's experience. You have to like be there, you know. So Srila Maharaj mentioned, Srila Gurudev, Srila Narayana Maharaj, all of our acharyas like that have mentioned like this here, that this topic is very, very difficult to understand. But he says it's explained Jiva Dharma very clearly. Funny also, because at that time when Rajanath was going to approach his guru, Raghunath Das Babaji Maharaj, he was going to approach his guru, he asked the same question, who am I? At that time, it's funny because Rajanath was going to, his grandmother was trying to arrange him to get marriage, the marriage of Rajanath. So that was kind of funny too, because he didn't want to be entangled, you know. So the jiva, he comes into the material world from the Tatastha region, actually. There's three. First, Sanatana Goswami, he, after all this talk about the prison and his getting out, then he begins the question to Mahaprabhu. Previously, Ramananda Roy had already been a question like that. He was question and answer. And Mahaprabhu would question Ramananda Rai, and Ramananda Rai would reply. But here, Sanatana Goswami, and he's asking question to Mahaprabhu's reply. So his very important question is in verse 102, where he says, Kayami, who am I? And then you see in Jiva Dharma, when he asks this question, then his guru says, now your spiritual life is very important, it's beginning right now with this question, who am I? Because you see, so many people in the material world, you ask this question and they think it's just like a stupid question, you know. They have all these upadhis, these designations like that. So anyway, when he asks this question, who am I, Rajanath, he's trying to get out. He doesn't want to get married. He doesn't want to get entangled. Why? Because he's already found his sadhu sangha. So really the only way you can understand is jiva tattva, simple question, jiva tattva, is through the sadhus. Yeah? So there's three Kayami, Kena Amaya Jaya Tapatra. You probably know this verse. You know, it's a common verse. Iha Nahi Jani Kemana Hitahoy. If you don't know these answer to these questions, you know, what is the benefit? How can I be benefited if I don't know? You know, if I don't know, if I ignore these questions, what's the point? You know, but who am I and why am I suffering? So the jiva, he actually, there's three explained in text 108, 109. Mahaprabhu immediately he replies to this, saying, "This is a question you're asking." You know, Sanatana Goswami says, "You're asking this question, but you already know the answer. You know the answer. You're just a sadhu." So he said, "This is the nature of a sadhu. Sadhu Swabhav. His nature is to ask questions, not just for because he's confused, but because of strictness. Strictness. His word is used, darja. So he's asking this question for the benefit of everybody. So Mahaprabhu immediately replies with a simple answer, Jiver Sarup, Hoy Krishna Nityadas. You know most people know this shloka. But the next line, Sabhavika Krishna Beda Beda Prakash. He's actually saying this tattva, it's actually a matter of simultaneously one and different. So and then he says there's three different energies that the Lord has asked. One is Chit Shakti, one is Jiva Shakti, and one is Maya Shakti. And other names are Antaranga and Bahiranga. Internal Sarup Shakti and Bahiranga, like that. So, and then the Maya Shakti. So these three things are going on, these three energies. So what's happened is, in the Mayavadis, they try to come in, there's nothing but Brahman. That's all there is Brahman. It's a non-differentiated plane. Once we get out of this, what they call this Gata Akash, it's a pot. He says once we get out of this, then we'll understand that we're all Brahman, So it's very, very nice. It's because when Mahaprabhu, he took sannyas, Keshavarti, he's actually, in Krishna Lila, he is a Krura. So this is nice. So when he's going to take sannyas, he knows that Keshavarti is going to give him the mantra, Tat Tvamasi. Yeah? So Mahaprabhu, he didn't like this. No, I don't want to hear this. And because it means I am that, it means, I'm the Brahman. So then Mahaprabhu, Murari Gupta is there and he says, don't worry, there's another thing that is going on. Tat Tvamasi doesn't mean just I am that. It means that I am his. So Mahaprabhu said, I like that very much. Then I can see it. Then he spoke a mantra into Keshavarti, and Bharati said, that's the mantra that I want to give you. So this is kind of remarkable because these are one of the Mayavadis, terms, like phrases that you keep, thinking that the jiva comes from the Brahmajyoti, you see. But they don't understand that what happens is, in this, there's three different types of energies, and there's Sarup Shakti. In the Sarup Shakti, there the souls are free, they're completely liberated. So in Jiva Dharma you get the first chapter, 15 chapters, Jiva Tapa, Jiva, and then the next one is the condition, the Bada Jiva, and then the next chapter is the liberated soul. So these three chapters in Jiva Dharma are very important also. You read them. Even older devotees can read them daily, they'll get more and more. That's why it's jiva tattva is unlimited. It's inconceivable. It's not just the jiva doesn't come from Brahman, it comes from Tatastha. So anyway, it's explaining what Tatastha means, why it's so complicated. And in there's a shlok where he says that the jiva is just like a Mahamatsya. Mahamatsya? Matsya, the fish incarnation? Well, the jiva is like that. He's like a big fish in this ocean. And he's going from one bank to the other bank, back and forth. What to do. Should I go in the spiritual world? Or should I go in the material world? In that verse, it's Svabhavika, it's Suryamsha Kiran. Suryamsha Kiran. He's a kiran, like a ray of a particle. He's an amsha, not a amshi. Amshi is the complete whole. So he's an atomic particle. And actually, when you try to get down to measure atomic particle, it's not possible. So that's why you can't see the soul. In Balaga Shati Bagasha, you take a tip of a hair, you divide it 100 times, etc. like that, and you can't see it. There's no way. So you can't see the soul with the material things. So how do you actually understand this jiva tattva? You can only understand it through a sadhu. Through a sadhu, because the Atma is invisible. That's one of the qualities. It's described in Bhagavatam. There's 12 different symptoms of the soul that you can recognize. One is he's invisible. You can't see him. But he's so powerful. So he's situated in this Tatastha region, which is another name for Brahmajyoti. But it's the border of the whole Brahmajyoti. You see? So to Tatastha means, basically, many know that the water comes up, it covers the land, and it washes back, and it's wet and it's dry. Neither one. You can't say, well, this is liquid or this is land, like that. So Tata means the border. So the jiva actually comes from there. That's called the the Shakti that actually is situated on the border. It's not the Sarup Shakti. It's not the Chit Shakti. You see? It's in between. So those three like that. That's why they can't understand it. Many people, how is it? Well, yeah, soul is eternal. It's supposed to be eternal. There's no origin. There's no origin in the sense that because this question was asked, well, if you say there's an origin of soul, that means there's a time, a present, a past, like that, and a future. But that's measured only in the terms of material time, you see? So the jiva is not situated in that. He's situated in a place which is not part of the material plane. It's actually the border. So that's why you can't really say materially that there's a time when the jiva appeared, what time he appeared. So then therefore there's a verse after this is all being explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna say buli anadi bahirmukhi. This bahirmukha, this external material energy, if you want to try to point out when the jiva comes from, it's not possible. It's beginningless. So I asked one person many years ago, well, that means that they have a karma? He says the karma is called beginningless karma. If a jiva comes into the material world, then when he comes in, that karma starts to be measured from that time. But actually the karma starts being measured in the Brahmajyoti. At that time it's measured, because he's making his choice. The jiva actually makes a choice, whether he wants to go to the spiritual world or material world. So if he's got enough the spiritual power, he'll go to the spiritual area, Vaikuntha planets. But will he enter into the most inner region of the spiritual place? Gokul, you know. There's Goloka, there's Vaikuntha, Goloka, Gokul, like that. There's a whole hierarchy. Does he have enough power to go into Gokul? He's never heard of Ashtaka Leela. He's never heard of anything like that, of Krishna's pastimes like that. You know, he's situated in this particular area. So the thing is, he will go into the spiritual plane, he'll go into the spiritual plane, but it's a very lower plane. The Vaikuntha planets. So it's actually, in one sense, it's merciful that we came into the material world. Because then we can meet a sadhu, and the sadhu can explain to us all the different levels and where to actually go. Where is our ultimate goal? Where is the ultimate goal of jiva? You know, is it to go to Brahmaloka? You know, is it to go to Vaikuntha Loka, Goloka, Ayodhya, Dwarka? You know, is that our goal? You see? So Mahaprabhu, Ragamarg, he came to preach Ragamarg. Ragamarg Kodite Loka Pracharan. Ragamarg Loka Kodite Pracharan. He came to preach Raganuga Bhakti because the jiva has the opportunity to actually enter into the highest plane, you know, which is Goloka Vrindavan. You see? From the words of a sadhu, from the words of a guru. So, but the jiva that comes into the material world, according to Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he starts like Brahma, like a Brahma, not as Brahma, but like a Brahma. You know, he comes in, he's got, you know, the spiritual power, he's got everything there, but he doesn't got the full knowledge. So he's not a Brahma, but it's like a Brahma. You know, but then he takes the bodies of different beasts, and then Labda Sudur Labamidam Bahusavanti. It means it goes through 8,400,000 species. So you can imagine, now we've come to the human platform, the jiva, the soul. So then you're very fortunate. So now what is the ultimate goal? We can ask, what is the goal of life, the ultimate goal? Which many people don't ask, you know. You know, they say, oh, I ask many people that, what's the ultimate goal? And they say, oh, back to Godhead. Yeah, well, back to Godhead, is that the ultimate goal? What are you going to do when you go back to Godhead? Jiva Sarupoy Krishna Nityadas, you're eternal servant of Krishna, that's true. The Jiva Sarup is that's his nature. But what type of, where is he going to, what is he going to do there? See? So, Veda Shastra Kohe, Sambandha Abhide, Deya Prayojan. Those three things all the Vedic literatures deal with, and they deal with in the sense that what is your relationship to Jiva with Krishna? If you see Bhaktivinoda Thakur's verse where he takes all the 10 principles, there's one is the Praman, one is the Prameya, he takes 10 of them. And you'll see that from the first one has to do with the Praman, and then 2 to 7 has to do with the principles, you know, the proof, try to prove that, Praman. That has to do with Sambandha, 2 to 7, Sambandha. What is our relationship, our eternal relationship with Krishna? Now you're in the material world, you know. You came here, why? Because of your choice. If Krishna wouldn't have gave you free will, say in the Brahmaniyota, some people will say, well, why does he give us free will to suffer? I come here and it's suffering. It's not a very pleasant thing to go through, right? Everybody is, you know, even things that you become attached to, anything, you know, you lose them, you know. You become attached to Guru. The Guru leaves. What happens? Then you feel separation. What to do now? What am I now? I'm confused now. You see? But Krishna arranges this. In this material world, one part of it is suffering. This is a prison where you suffer. But Krishna has two aspects. He's Karunamoy, and he's Leelamoy. Karunamoy means he's merciful, most merciful. You can see how merciful Krishna is. At every moment, he's trying to enlighten you, trying to help you, the jiva, to get out of this material cage that he's entered into. From this plane of non-differentiated consciousness, which Srila Maharaj's terms, is you come into units of consciousness. So you're an individual unit of consciousness. You have an individual relationship with Krishna. Each soul has an individual relationship with Krishna. So when we talk about our philosophy, Beta Beta Prakash, the most important aspect is the difference, not the non-difference. First, the non-difference will come, the abed. But the difference, the individual, is more important, because you have an individual relationship with Krishna. But even that, now we find out, at first, Srila Prabhupada, he set the foundation, he gave everything there, Sambandha Abhideya Prayojan, Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, he gave it all, but at our point in time, we could only understand a little bit of the Sambandha. And we can see, even when we talk about the jiva, we can't answer a lot of these questions after so many years, So why? Because in the verse of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, it's Beta Beta Prakash Sakalamapi Hare. This, everything is different and non-different. Achintya Beta Beta Prakash. So that's why Lord Chaitanya, he stressed the achintya. When you're talking about the jiva, it's achintya. It's adhokshija. You can't see the jiva, You can't even imagine what your form is right now. You can't see what your sarup is. We're like Prabhupada, when he came to the West, first thing he dealt with is what Sarup Brahma, the mistaken identity of the Sarup. Oh, I'm American, I'm Spanish, or I'm this, that, And these were all, this is the first aspect of it. But the sadhya and the sadhan, he didn't deal so much with that. The sadhya, the goal, what is the goal of the jiva? Now that you're in the material world, what is your goal? Many people mistake what the sadhana and the sadhya is. Sadhya means the ultimate goal. The sadhana means the means. So what does Bhaktivinoda Thakur says? He says, sadhanam shuddha bhakti. He says the jiva should practice shuddha bhakti. Not just bhakti, but shuddha bhakti. And shuddha bhakti is actually, we're trying to understand what raganuga bhakti is. Vaidhi bhakti is there, rules and regulations will be there in the beginning. Brahmachari, sannyas, all these are under varna shram, until you reach a point where you're beyond that. So the jiva has to find out, first you have to ask the question, what is my goal? What is the goal? In other words, the jiva is already here. Why you came here? It was your free will. That's all. If Krishna wouldn't have gave you free will, Srila Sridhar tells a nice story about one very famous leader came to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and he asked him, well, why would Krishna give us free will if we're going to come here and suffer? And then he said, you don't understand the value of freedom? Freedom? If Krishna never gave you free will, gives you freedom, then what happens? Then you're no better than a stone. That's all. A stone has no consciousness of what to do, So, in that sense. So, it's a very, very deep philosophy of the jiva, and it's said that there's two types of jivas, actually. Some come directly from Vaikuntha, some come from this plane of the Tatastha. Generally, all conditions, though, the Buddha jiva, They come from this plane of the Tatastha. And the Nityasiddhas, they come from the Sarup Shakti. They're sent here. Just like the 6 Goswamis. You know, they've enacted the activities like they were, you know, in prison, like Sanatana Goswami, etc., like that. They went through all this to show something, what to do for the jiva, what the direction is. But are they bada jivas, conditionally, eternally conditioned, or eternally free? You know, they're nityasiddha, and eternally liberated souls. You know? So each 6 Goswami, each of the 6 Goswamis, you'll see that their internal sarup, they have a manjari name. You know? That name is the name that they're connected with the spiritual world. It doesn't mean that they leave Goloka Vrindavan in their manjari sarup, and they come here to the material world, and then there's no, say, rupa manjari there in the manjari in the spiritual world. You know? Oh, he came here, so we'll leave that little place up there for him when he comes back. You know, no, he comes here. He's 2 forms. Just like in our Gaudiya philosophy, our line is through Mahaprabhu. So we meditate on Mahaprabhu, and through Mahaprabhu and Krishna. So it's Gaur Lila and Krishna Lila. So the jiva, he leaves our Gaudiya line, he takes birth in 2 forms. 2 forms. One in the pastimes of Mahaprabhu, one in the pastimes of Krishna. You see? Like that. Our goal, like Srila Sridhar Maharaj pointed out one time, Mahaprabhu said, Gopi Pardu Pada Kamala Das Anudasa. What does this mean? He counted actually, he said, well, actually there's 5 different distances. We can't approach Krishna directly, you know. So that's why it's das, anudas, like that. So if he's counted it up, he says there's 5 different levels. So the manjari, they don't approach Krishna directly, like that. They approach through Srimati Radhika, but Srimati Radhika has a gan, which is Lalita gan, our group, like that. And under Lalita is Rupa Goswami, like that. In Search for Sri Krishna, after he talks about the origin of the soul thing, the last chapter is the line of Rupa, you see. And that's actually the jiva is being awakened up, that Mahaprabhu came to give this. Very rare thing. Anarpita charim chirat karunayavati nakalo samart payatun unato jalarasam sabhakti shriyan. So unata ujvalaras. 2 types. Like that. One is for the jiva. One is for actually Srimati Radhika, reserved. But one is for the jiva too. This is the Ragamari, this is the line of serving. Unata, most elevated, you see. So jiva has been given that gift by Mahaprabhu. Here, you take it. If you want it, you have free will. If you don't want it, okay. You can go back into the Brahma Jyoti if you want. Tattwamasi. Like that. But like Mahaprabhu twisted it around. No, I am not that. I am his. When he says, I am his, Srimati, what is Gauranga Maharaj thinking about? I'm his? What, isn't Mahaprabhu a Purusha, his male form? Why is he thinking I am his? Why is that? Because he's in the mood of Srimati Radhika and Manji Bhav, like that, you see? So Mahaprabhu, he has like 3 different levels like that. Sometimes he's thinking he's Krishna, sometimes he's thinking he's Radharani, sometimes he's thinking he's Manjari. But he came specifically to taste that Radha Bhav. Radha Bhav. Has actually been given a very, very rare gift. We came into this world, we're thinking it's a very bad place, you know. But once we become in contact with the bona fide sadhu, the bona fide guru, and then we're on our way, like that. Babu and Rasik, Vaishnava, like that. We need those. Because when you start seeing that in the spiritual world, there's a variety. It's not like non-differentiated plane, the Brahman, which means there's no exchange. No, you have an exchange. That's why it's so important to understand what's going on in the material world, Maya Tattva, and what's going on in the spiritual world. We understand in Maya Tattva there's certain isms that keep us trapped here, and it's going towards what they call the Brahmajyoti, this non-differentiated plane. Back again there. Who wants to go back there? It says that the Buddhists, when they meditate on this here, they're meditating on the darkness like that. They merge into the darkness, nirvana. But the Mayavadis, impersonalists, they're meditating, they merge into the light. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta's term is they're blinded by the light. Blinded by the light. So that's a really nice way of putting it. The Brahmajyoti is a plane of light. It's above the darkness, which is the Viraja river. Viraja river, it separates the spiritual and the material. So the Viraja river, actually the Viraja plain, there's a plain called Tatastha like that. That's where the origin of the jiva, the conditioned souls, are coming from, into the material world. Some of them, as I say, Maha Matsya, like a great fish, a large fish, they go to spiritual plane, like that. But we're very fortunate, because we come in here, we actually can go to the even higher plane, you see. We can go to a higher plane, which is actually Mahaprabhu's gift to us. Even though we're so fallen, the most fallen, obviously, we can say that, what we were before. The level you come from here, you check what you get. One time it said that Vyas Puja, Srila Narayana Maharaj said, Vyas Puja is a day that you check how much advancement you've made in that day. How much you look back on, you see, oh, where I was then, now where I am now. And it's amazing to see how much progress you made by the mercy of the sadhus, by the mercy of the Vaishnavas, the self-realized souls. And so it's important to always try to find very advanced souls like that. And they can just say a few words, a simple phrase that maybe an ordinary person will say, but what they say is so much different from what the other person is saying. If self-realized soul says that you are a jiva, and the ordinary person says you are a soul, what does it mean? Say I'm identifying as a Christian and I say, oh, you're a soul. Yeah, but they're thinking that the soul has no eyes, he has no ears, he thinks that he's going to merge into Brahmajyoti at the end. That's the soul. Or one time I was asked to ask questions about Jesus to Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and I asked the first question about Christianity, and then the person that was kind of prodding me on, he told me to ask another question about the soul. The first question I asked, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, actually, Christians think the soul and the body are the same. Then I asked the other question, the next question he asked me to ask, so I was kind of the messenger for him. And then I asked that question, and then Srila Sridhar Maharaj looked at me, and he got up, he's over 90 years old, got up out of his seat, and he ran into his room, and he looked back at me, and I thought, oh my God, what did I do, Because it's such a question you're asking about people that are identifying the body with the soul, And you could see that sectarian religions like that, they have no understanding of what the soul is, where it comes from, what is the ultimate goal to go to. which is the important point that we should be asking now. You know, the jiva, we know, comes from we're conditioned soul. We don't have our sarup, understanding of who we are yet, but we can get it. It's possible by the mercy of other, self-realized souls. They can give you, understand that. But it's not like, this is a controversial point, because some Babajis may say that your form is there in the spiritual world. It's just waiting for you to leave and take that form, like that. But this is not our philosophy. Our philosophy is actually that the Sarup is already there. Everything is there already. Your name, all this Ekadish Bhav, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives in the last part of the Jiva Dharma, it's all there. It's your form, your mother, your father, it's all there. But as we waken up, gradually it will be revealed to us how old you are. You're thinking that you're 30, 40, 50 years old, but the soul's not that. How can it be 30, 40, 50 years old? That means that you're when you were in the Brahma Jyoti, when you were in the Tatastha region, you were only, how old? 12 years old, 30, 13, 14, 15, 50, So you came in the material world. It's no age. So when I asked this devotee, where's the karma begin? He says it's beginningless karma, which is a good point. Anadi bahir mukha. It's beginningless. Krishna's given you free will, to come here. So the thing is, now we're here, and we at the mercy of these self-realized souls. If we take their mercy properly, when you understand what is the goal? Sadyatat Pritim, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Krishna Priti, Krishna Prem. That's the goal. So we analyze what Krishna Prem is to see how relishable that goal is. And then the jiva is automatically freed from all these coverings. You see? So Chit Shakti, the living entities come from Chit Shakti, that's spiritual plane. The jivas come from the region of Tatastha, and the Maya Shakti covers the jiva. How does it cover the jiva? The jiva is pure soul. That's another question. How does it cover it? How can a pure soul be covered? It's pure. It's always pure. You see? But this is also part of Krishna's Leela. You want to enjoy the material world? And here, I'll cover you so you think you can enjoy. And then you try to enjoy, and you'll find out, oh, what am I doing? I'm actually suffering. I'm not enjoying. You see? Oh, you want a beautiful wife? Okay, we'll give you a beautiful wife. Then you get a beautiful wife, and then you become entangled. And then you're thinking, what was this all about? Now she's 80 years old, 90 years old, I'm attached to this body. It's like that. So it's actually suffering. So you came into this material world, it's part of Krishna's Leela to get you detached from this material thing. So you go to the proper goal, which is Unnata Ujjala Ras. You taste that highest ras. Swa Bhakti Shriyam. Swa Bhakti Shriyam, very nice. Swa, Srimati Radhika, Bhakti, the devotional service. Shriyam, those people that are following Srimati Radhika. All the manjaris are like that. They're serving Srimati Radhika. He came to give us that goal. Srila Sridhar Maharaj used the term Radhadasyan. Srila Gurudev, Srila Narayana Maharaj, he specified it even more clear. Like this manjaris are actual real sarup. So in the plane of Tatastha, you have no consciousness of who you are. Okay? So remarkable, because after, in this chapter 20 of Chaitanya Charitamrita, what happens after Lord Chaitanya answers this question really quick to Sanatana Goswami, then he goes into explaining all the different aspects of Krishna. Long things, Chatavyuha, everything. What's the difference between Vaibhav Prakash, Prabhav Prakash, etc. like that. So it's important we know which Krishna we want to go towards, which Krishna we're worshipping. Like that. Which Srimati Radhika we worship. Do you worship Srimati Radhika in Uddhava Kiyati? Do we worship Srimati Radhika, the one that went to Kurukshetra? So we know these, when we know these things like that, by the mercy of these pure Vaishnavas, then the jiva becomes happy, becomes satisfied. Like Srila Gurudev, Srila Narayana Maharaj, he gave the explanation of Srimati Radhika. We're under her, she's Ashraya, we're taking shoulder of her, so we're following her, but this is, which one is Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe, and then there's Viyogini and Samyogini. When she's in Uddhava Kiyati, she's not Vrishabhanu Nandini, she's feeling so much separation. Like that. So it's Viyogini. Then when she goes to Kurukshetra, it's Samyogini. She meets Krishna, but she wants to take Krishna back to Vrindavan. Like that. So our line is fixed on Vrishabhanu Nandini Radha. Like that. And that's the manjaris, our actual sarup is going to, our understanding of what our sarup is going towards that. And then this thing about, well, what's the origin of the jiva? Okay, we know. Now we know that the jiva comes, we're conditioning, we're coming out of this dreamlike state. Because it said there are kind of three states too. And when the jiva is in the Brahmajyoti, he's in a state called Swapna Stan. It's a dreamlike state, where he's actually has no consciousness of his identity. Nothing. So when you come into the spiritual world, immediately, into the material world, immediately there's Icha Dvesha Samutena. You have these two things, desire, and also envy, hate is also there. Icha Dvesha. Dvesha means that, oh, this person here, he is happy, he's becoming happy. I don't like this. I don't like to see him happy. So I'll stop him from being happy. Icha Dvesha. Your desire, you're hankering for something like that. So these two things like that. And in Vishwanath Chakravarti, he goes through a whole explanation in Madhurya Kadambini of this Icha Dvesha, and this like two leaves. And the devotee, as he matures, then there's two little leaves. One is Vaidhi Bhakti, and one is actually Raganuga Bhakti. If you take a leaf, there's an upper side and a lower side. So like that, he says, Vaidhi Bhakti is there, we're practicing the rules and regulations, but we're praying for Raganuga Bhakti. Because in Raganuga Bhakti, then our love, our feelings, our understanding like that, how to actually relate to Krishna and Srimati Radhika and all our associates is developed. So Raganuga is our what Mahaprabhu came to give. Shuddha Bhakti. Shuddha Bhakti is Raganuga Bhakti. So Gurudev, Srila Narayana Maharaj, when he started his whole tour in the West, he stressed this verse on Yabilashita Shunyam Gyanakarma Dhyanavitam Anukulena Krishna Anushilanam Bhakti Ruttama. Important verse. In Prabhupada's Nectar Devotion, Swami Maharaj Prabhupada's Nectar Devotion, he has it, but it's in the introduction. It's in the introduction, so you don't see it so much. But here, this is what he explained. This is what we have. You don't have any other, should have no other desires except to satisfy Krishna Anushilan, to cultivate that Krishna. Favorably. Not just our own personal satisfaction. Because the thing is, in the Sanatan Shiksha, what happens is immediately when we start identifying with the body, etc., in the mind, then vayam dvitiya viniveshat asayam. Then immediately there's a separation. It's called separate interests. So that's why it's called we're separated particles. Separated. Separated means that actually we have separate interests. We come into the material world and we have separate interests. We want to be the dominator. Okay, Krishna says, okay, go ahead. See if you can dominate. You see? So separated particles. Daivihi esha gunamai. You can't get out of it. Unless mameva yai prapadyante. Surrender. Even Lord Brahma, he was bewildered. Jnane payasa mudapasya namante eva. So you can't. So there's three. There's three. There's Atma. There's it says Brahmeti Parameti Bhagavan Iti Shabdate. Those three. If we try to Brahmeti, iti means actually it says complete. If we follow that completely, fully, where are you going to end up? Just trying to understand what the Brahman is. You'll end up as a Mayavadi, Brahman. Oh, that's where I want to go, the Brahma Jyoti. I want to go back home. I want to go back home, back to Godhead. That's not your home. See? So you weren't really in your original home. That was not home. You're thinking it's home. So then, okay, well then I'll do yoga. Then there's Paramatma. You realize. Then you start thinking, oh, I have 4 arms. Oh, I'm powerful. I'm more powerful than anybody. No, that's not your home. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj used the term home comfort. When you get back to your original place, which is actually in Goloka Vrindavan, then that's home comfort. Bhagavan, everything is there. But not just Bhagavan with the 6 opulences, possessing 6 bhaga opulences. Jiva Goswami gave the explanation, Bhajaniya Vishishta, Guna Vishishta. Bhajaniya Guna Vishishta. It is actually, this particular thing has to do with service. Your attitude of service is awakened. So what type of service do the manjaris do? What type of service is at high level like that? Kim karomi, what to do. That's all they're thinking of. What can I do? What can I do for you? What can I do for you? Etc. like that. That's their service mood. You see. So from that's partially the explanation of Jiva Tattva. But I would encourage everybody to read Jaiva Dharma, 15, 16, and 17, those 3 chapters. In Madhya Lila Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 20. You read that, study Srila Sridhar Maharaj's book, like Origin of Jiva, Search for Sri Krishna. Again, you read it and you'll see that even you think, oh, I knew that before. But you read it again, you'll find out. And then Srila Narayana Maharaj has a book called Journey of the Soul. That book mainly is taken from Jaiva Dharma, you see. So it's all there in Jaiva Dharma. But as you go deeper in things like that, we start tasting more ras, like that, more mellows, more transcendental mellows, and all the way up to prem, sneha, man, pranaya, rag, anurag, bhav, mahabhav, rudi, anurudi, and then Shrimati Radha and Krishna up there, Madanaki Mahabhav. So these things like that. Very beautiful process. It's just that we have to, don't give up. That the goal is there. We can attain it. Why can we attain it? By the mercy. Krishna's karuna, moya, lila. By his mercy. Like that. This is his pastime. Don't worry, you'll be okay. Just stay under the guidance of the sadhus. Right? Vanchacha kita sinave cha patitanam pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo.
I had one questions. Was Srila Prabhupada in some places in the Srimad Bhagavatam say that the jiva soul falling down of the spiritual sky kingdom, and in other places say the opposite.
Right.
This is no, the jiva, no, it's impossible, no
Right.
falling down.
Right.
What about these topics?
Okay.
In some places in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada say that the conditioned soul is impossible falling down the spiritual sky.
Right, yeah.
But in other places say that yes, it's falling down. This
Yeah.
is the ISKCON. This called the jiva issues.
The
Yes.
jiva issue.
Because it is the ISKCON say that the jiva coming the spiritual sky, not the tatasta.
Right.
I understand this.
Yeah.
This is not tatasta because tatasta is impersonal nature, but it's a jiva coming to the Vaikuntha.
So, one thing is, if you read really close in these Bhagavatam, the use of the words, they have a limit. So when Prabhupada is saying fallen, he doesn't mean that he is fallen from the spiritual world directly. I mean, it's the term that they apply to a conditioned soul. Conditioned soul. But to fall from the Sarup Shakti is impossible because there's a Viraja river. So when the jiva goes back to the spiritual world, so-called, then he has to go cross over the Viraja river. In the Viraja river, you leave your subtle body, you know, your mind, your intelligence, and your false ego. You see? Your chitta also, your chitta, the covering. So you go back, if you enter back into the spiritual world, there's no false ego. So the entities in the Sarup Shakti, they have no false ego, meaning that they're not there to serve themselves. That's the sense gratification. How is the jivas are going to turn against Krishna in the Sarup Shakti and become envious of him and come in here? That type of envy is not material. You know, it's increasing. Like the difference between Chandravali and Srimati Radhika, they have a competition going. Some people can say, well, Chandravali is envious of Srimati Radhika. At the point when she went to Uddhavakiyari, she was lying there and feeling great separation, thinking that they thought that she was going to leave her body. She reached the highest point, Pralaya. You know, at that point, all these different devotees started coming. Abhimanyu came, even. Chandravali, she was also present. She was also present in the sense that she came, she saw Srimati Radhika, and she prayed for Srimati Radhika's mercy. So that type of envy in the spiritual world, it's not real envy. It's impossible. So that word that he uses, fallen, is not that he fell from the Sarup Shakti, because he would have to, that means that he has all these designations of the false ego, and then he passes again through the Viraja river, and he picks up the false ego, and he picks up all these upadhis, and then he comes back in. This is impossible. Why would he want to come? It's not even common sense, you see. So this is a grave error they're making, because they're saying that, well, look, Jaya and Vijaya, they came here. They fell down from Vaikuntha. No, they didn't fall. Prabhupada states right in his purport that one should not consider this a fall down. They came in to actually increase the ras of Krishna, Krishna's ras, and they took 3 births. First birth, Hiranyaksha, these 3 births. He says, but this is not every kalpa, Brahma. This is only for a lila, particular time, to show, that Krishna wants to enjoy these rasas like that. So words are very, very, have a limit, and some people where their perception is at the time, they may see it. Srila Sridhar Maharaj did not, no way, Prabhupada no way said that they fell from the spiritual world, from Goloka Vrindavan, like that, in the sense that they made some mistake of being envious of Krishna. You see? The word, they're not seeing the words. They say that words sometimes they have 2 sides. They have a Maya Shakti side, and they have a liberating side. So you have to see that. And even in Jiva Dharma, he says you get to the points of words, and you have to say, stop, wait a minute, I can't. If I try to tell you, what is Srimati Radhika doing with Krishna, in the Nakunjas or the Kunjas, how can you explain it? What is Madanakya Mahadabhav with Srimati Radhika and Krishna? It's the highest. So how do you explain it? You see? Like the karmis they say, well, oh, I love you, I love you. One devotee told Srila Narayana Maharaj that says, oh, I love you, Gurudev. He says, no, you don't love me at all. I can see that. You're saying it, but you're not acting on it. Words have a limit, See? So he said, you don't love me, and that particular devotee left also. He left. So the thing is, you got to be careful of the words, because we can look at a sadhu, what he says, a more advanced Vaishnava, and he will explain it clearly. Like one devotee was in Radha Damodar when I was going there in the early days, and I was explaining the difference in diction Shiksha Guru, and he was talking about this also. And I told him, I said, well, you're not really reading Prabhupada's books, properly. He said, well, it's right there, it's black and white. I said, yeah, you're reading it, but you're not understanding it properly, What does understanding mean? It means that you stand under. You become humble and you listen to the sadhus and their explanation, and you'll see the proper understanding of what it means, fallen. A fallen soul doesn't mean that he's fallen from the spiritual world. It means that he's become conditioned in the material world. He's not a liberated, mukta jiva, liberated soul. He doesn't come here to help people, liberate people. But fallen soul, he's trying to get out. He's conditioned. It's like that. I just saw a article of Prabhupada where they were talking about independence. He says, does a jiva have independence? Does a person? What independence Prabhupada was talking about? He says, you can see, everybody's thinking they're independent, but they're being controlled. But then you say, well, didn't Krishna give you free will? He says, yeah, he gave you free will. You gave you free will to whether you choose to be in Maya or you choose to be in a spiritual plane, like that, spiritual, like that. You say that's the free will. So that's the minute part of it. It gives you that choice. That's the consciousness, the living consciousness, So once he gives that to you, it's fallen. They don't follow from Vaikuntha. They don't follow from Goloka. You see, it's impossible. Just common sense. Basically. And the thing is they put out this book called The Origin of the Soul or something like that. But they won't retract it because it's embarrassing. Oh, these very high Vaishnava, we made a mistake. No, better if you accept it, because Srila Sridhar Maharaj said we should always think that we're a student. Always. Even the Guru, Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, even I'm thinking that I'm a student. You see? Even the Guru. You can see the Guru changes also. you know. Like supposing that you accept a Madhyamadikari, you mean that he has no ability to advance? He can't become an Uttamadikari? He's stuck in Madhyam platform all his whole life? That's not the way it is. That's why when you accept a devotee that is not a Uttam platform, you should always see him as Uttam. Even though he may be Madhyam, except for Kanishta, don't accept Kanishta. If you accept Kanishta, then very, very difficult. You know, his faith is, you know. So the thing is we're advancing. All advancing through the efforts of sadhus. That's why it said that we're all in one family, you know. We're all in one family. That's all. And then some people have different levels like that. It's not. Most of the people in the ISKCON, the gurus and stuff like that, we can see like from their perception what level they're at. But if they get the connection of Bhavik and Rasik Vaishnavas, they're so fortunate, you know. Don't be covered by this sectarianism like that. That's the beauty of Vishwa Vaishnav Rajasha. Yeah. We're all in the same family, you know. Acha?
This problem is why about the origin of the jiva. Many acharyas no develop about this subject, no right. No explain this origin of jiva. This is the problem because the jiva is begging legs. Without begging, there's many devotees. It's not necessary to explain about this because it's no impossible to prove.
Yeah. But the thing is it shows you at a point where the jiva comes from. That's all. Okay, there's no need to think what's the jiva doing in the Brahmajyoti thing. There's no need to that, that's true. But the point is, we know that the origin is from there, because we're conditioned. If we're conditioned, meaning that we're subject to illusion, etc., these different faults, that means we're conditioned, you know. It's like that. But we see, you know, like Srila Narayana Maharaj, he says, I was a famous soccer player, you know, like that. We think, wow, what's that got to do with spiritual life? You know? But the thing is, it's not the essential thing. We see that you get close to a Vaishnava like that, and their activities are transcendental. They go through this here. The other living entities may see that, and they think, oh, he's an ordinary soul. But then other living entities come close to him, and they start hearing him, wow, he's not an ordinary person. You see? Just like we see the activities of Prabhupada, activities of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, etc., all these. They had certain activities they went through there. It seemed like they were conditioned, but they were not conditioned. So it said that we should always see the Guru as a Uttamadikari. He may not be on that plane, you know. You might see honestly in your heart or somebody else, because his god brothers might get together and they joke and laugh, and you think, oh, what are they doing, you know? It's like that. But, you know, that's not their real identity, you know. It's like that.
I have one more question. So, the spiritual soul, even if it's in this material world, also have a spiritual identity that is actually in the spiritual above. And actually, you said it has their own family and everything is there ready. So, is this Swarup or original identity, is it also being part of the pastime in this moment, or it is waiting until the spiritual soul that is here with cups to be part of the pastime there?
That's a good question, yeah. Everything is here now in the soul, you know. But the Guru awakens that, and the thing is, what is going on in the spiritual world, you're not conscious of it right now, you know. But the Guru helps you to become conscious. But don't think that you're already playing in your lila up there, your pastimes, like that. You should always think that I'm Trinadapi Sunichena, I'm very low. I'm not so conscious. You should always think like that. So it's not that you have a form that is, waiting for you to enter these pastimes, that your mother and father is there. It's already there in the soul. They already know that. The Sarup, everything is there, you see. But the Guru awakens that, You go into Goloka Vrindavan, and then you take birth in the womb of a gopi. Just like a very remarkable thing happened when Mahaprabhu was having kirtan one day in Srivas Angan, right? And one of Srivas's sons died. So all the ladies came around and they were weeping, they're crying like that. And then Srivas came and he said, don't disturb the kirtan. If you disturb the kirtan, then I'll go and throw myself into the Ganges right now. So then what happened is, after the thing was over, Mahaprabhu said, there was something that was disturbing the kirtan. And he said, Srivas's son passed away while you were having kirtan. He said, oh, why? Nobody told me? So then he went in there and he looked at the son and he said, get up, arise. Why did you leave like this for? And the boy opened his eyes and sat up and he started to explain it. It was my time to go, And then the question comes up, well, why do you want to go? Mahaprabhu is here and having kirtan, He could have took part in his pastimes like that. But actually, Srila Gurudev says, because he was taking birth in the womb of a gopi. You see? So you're like that. So after you leave, you enter into the womb of a gopi, and then you take birth, and then you practice like that. Like that. It takes like 3 times like that, to understand that, You take birth in the womb of a gopi, and then you practice like that under the Nitya Siddhas, gopis. Like that. Sadhan Siddha, Nitya Siddha, like that. You practice. So that boy took birth like, he says, I'm satisfied. I know where I want to go, He said, okay, you're fine. You go back. And then he went back to sleep again. They considered him dead. He was not conscious. He had taken birth in the womb of a gopi. You see?
So, if it is like this, that there is the Swarup, Nitya Swarup in the spiritual above, then why is that we're coming from the Tashta Shakti?
Because what happens is that's later. You're coming from the Tashta Shakti. There's a Shakti, a particular energy, a particular Shakti that Krishna produces coming from his rays of his body. You see? So it's not a fine line. You can't demarcate, you can't, like this is like that. It's coming from there, the condition. So into the material world, but he's covered by Maya. If you're covered by Maya, it means that you were conditioned so.
But while you are in the Tashta Shakti, your Swarup is also in the spiritual world at the same time?
No.
Until we are in the material world, then there is one.
Yeah, your Sarup comes later. Sarup means your internal nature of who you are, what you're doing like that, comes later. It's not that, you see, the Babaji's conception is saying that the form is already there, everything is there waiting for you. No, it's already there in your heart. Everything is there. But the Guru helps you awaken to that thing. Once you take birth in the womb of a gopi, as Vishwanath Chakravarti points out, then all that starts developing, understand what you're doing, You see, you follow me? Is that clear? Yeah. So, Bas.
Thank you very much.
Very soon.
Tirtha Pada Prabhu, to Goswami Maharaj for this beautiful Harikatha and explanation of these topics for the benefit of all devotees from all different lands. that are sharing the knowledge that we are getting from our advisors of Vishwa Vaishnava Raksha. Srila Jiva Goswami Ki Jai,
Jai.
Vaishnava Association Ki Jai,
Jai.
Tirtha Pada Prabhu Ki
Jai.
Jai, Goswami Maharaj Ki
Jai.
आपन मंगल गान